to 2003. The first event we will talk about is Saddam Hussein getting captured. Saddam Hussein was president of Iraq since 1979. He was a revolutionary and was wanted by the U.S. After almost 9 months on the run, the U.S. finally found him in this small hole shown here.
I remember being shocked at what he looked like. That's what I remember. Mm-hmm. And, and it's always kind of shocking to see them. You could see he looked disoriented to me. He looked like a madman. And, you could see he had been through heck.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Now we're going to talk about the Northwest Blackout. Shoot. In the summer of 2003, a major blackout swept across the northeastern United States and into Canada. It is one of the biggest blackouts ever. There were initial fears of terrorist involvement, but the outage actually originated from natural causes.
Everybody was kind of wondering, how long is this going to last? What's going to happen? I had to go down the stairs, 6 flights, go across the street, because I had no way of knowing how far spread, I had no idea this was the whole Northeast. It could have been one block. Went to the store. They were in chaos. Nothing worked there. The security system wasn't working there. The registers weren't working there, so there was nothing they could do as a store. It was hot. It was the summer. It was July, I think. Mm-hmm. And those blackouts only happen in the summer.
Up next is the Iraq War. The Second Iraq War started in March of 2003. The initial attacks on Baghdad are shown here. The U.S. used almost $600 million of technology on just this initial encounter. Also, they flew many bombing raids and invaded from the ground. There was a large amount of success, especially in the early years of this conflict. Saddam Hussein, who is mentioned previously in this video, is shown here discussing surrender.
I remember commenting at that time to a group of people having this discussion before we went into war. Would we be looking back at this kind of like the Vietnam War? What was our mission? Did we accomplish it? I really felt strongly that it was not going to be a very quick process, especially occupying a country and trying to restore a certain democracy. Even though we were very quick to invade Baghdad, and I remember the images on television about the tanks, going in through Baghdad with the American flag, thinking the war is really, the amount of work is really not, it's not completely over.
On a more upbeat note, Finding Nemo gets released. Finding Nemo is an animated film from Disney released in 2003, depicting the adventures of a clownfish who is trying to find his lost son. It was quite a successful movie and is now the 5th highest grossing animated film of all time.
So I saw it years later. It was very popular. I really like the movie in that I can see the computer-generated film, how that really stood out. But overall, did I like the movie? Yes, I thought it was a good movie. There were a couple of things at times I thought it was a little tense. But once again, that's just my perspective, and I know it was very popular, and it was certainly very colorful and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Finding Nemo. That one at the time, and again, I don't remember. At the time, I thought the message was good. But boy, as an educator and a mom now with grown kids, I really think the message is, strong. I think, wow, yes, let your kids let them, like, raise them, but then you have to let go, which is the hardest thing. But you have to let them go find their way. And I think that's basically kind of what the movie, to me, was saying. You have to find the courage to let them do it. And the dad had a real hard time letting Nemo do that. But, you know, especially now with the whole at my school growth mindset and how making mistakes is so important for kids gaining self-esteem, you know, and that's how they gain their self-esteem and that's how they grow and figure things out.
Now back to some sad news. The failure of the Columbia space mission. The Space Shuttle Columbia was launched for the first time in 1981. It served over 22 years and completed 27 missions. However, at the end of its 28th mission, the shuttle disintegrated upon re-entry of the Earth's atmosphere due to a piece of foam that fell off the craft and ruptured a hole in one of the wings. All 7 crew members were killed in this tragedy.
I've always had an interest in aerospace. My dad was a part of the Apollo program to put men on the moon. And everybody in the industry turned themselves inside out asking themselves, how could we have prevented that? And we prevented it. That one didn't happen again. On the outside of the great big tank that contains the fuel for the Challenger engines, there's an area where the insulation was not sufficient, and a chunk of ice built up on that area, and that ice came off during takeoff. And during takeoff, it's not a smooth thing. Because you're riding a controlled explosion, it vibrates tremendously. I mean, scary vibration if you're riding it. I'm told, I've never done it, right? And a big chunk of ice came off and hit the leading edge of the wing. And the shuttle leading edge is made of a carbon composite. And if you think of fiberglass, which is a fabric, well, this is a fabric made of carbon fibers. And the resin that's used to hold it together, they put it in a big autoclave in a big oven and they bake it until everything that will bake out of it does bake out of it. And all that's left is this mass of carbon. Really strong, really light, really brittle. And when that chunk of ice hit it, it knocked a hole in there. That leading edge of the wing was the shuttle's protection against the heat of re-entry, because you know they glow red hot.
Yeah.
And from the friction. And because there was that hole in the leading edge, the plasma, which is generated, a plasma is an ionized gas, and they're about 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The plasma generated by the re-entry heat of this thing coming through the atmosphere forced its way through that hole in the leading edge and melted the aluminum wing. And so the wing failed and the shuttle just disintegrated in that high velocity, high energy event. So their deaths mercifully were probably very quick. As a giant fan of space flight and an admirer of these people, you know, it really struck me deeply emotionally.
Last but not least, Arnold Schwarzenegger got elected governor of California. Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California in 2003 for the Republican Party. He is Austrian and has pursued a variety of careers throughout his life, such as being an actor, filmmaker, businessman, author, bodybuilder, and philanthropist. He is most famous for starring in the Terminator films.
I came to Louisiana in 1974, and Louisiana is home. I feel more at home here than I did in California growing up. I just feel right about the place. It feels good. California is a very entertaining place because there's a lot of wild stuff going on out there, and it's always thought of itself as being kind of a leading edge sort of place, and in a lot of ways it is. Schwarzenegger isn't the very first politician that got elected to governor that came from the entertainment industry. Ronald Reagan, you know, is a case in point. Arnold, if you think about the way that Donald Trump behaves right now, his in-your-face approach, and Arnold was very much like that, but without so many rough edges. And he had a lot of good ideas. He was a political and fiscal conservative, and you know, that's a good thing. But he was very entertaining while he was governor. I don't think he did any serious harm.
All right. Thanks for joining me for 2003.